Are you an empath? Well, that's actually a loaded question for some people. You know, some people who identify as empaths are not really empaths. And then there are some other people who are empaths who don't want to identify as empaths. They reject the label. And I'll tell you why here in a second. But nevertheless, the ultimate tool for empaths to be empowered, to be healthy, I got it for you guys. This is the one tool, the one practice that shifted my whole life. So stay tuned. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Charmed Life YouTube channel. On this channel, we talk about magic, metaphysics, mysticism, the unconditional love of the universe, and how to expand your consciousness, how to be a healthy, empowered empath, one of the things which we are talking about today. And my name is Tricia Carr. I'm your host here. I am an Empathic Channel, multidimensional medium, animal telepath, hypnotherapist, and I am a spiritual teacher. Now, I said one thing there, which was Empathic Channel, and that is a term that I got from my guides. It was actually last year, from the time that this is being recorded, when my business partner Crystal Ann Compton and I were putting together our channeling intensive program. And I was just talking, I was chatting with my spirit guides about what kind of channel I am, and they said Empathic Channel. And that made a lot of sense to me. You see, I use my entire energy to interpret, to bring in information from spirit as well as the physical world. The whole thing, it works that way. And that fundamentally is my empathic nature. And I do it as a channel. Now, the other thing to mention there is that I'm also in human design. My type is reflector, which means all of my energy centers are open, and that makes me vulnerable to conditioning or to mapping other energies, or we could say an opportunity for wisdom and expansion and learning about other energies. Oh, I should say, by the way, empath. What does empath mean? So the empath function, I like to call it function. Anyone could possibly do this at any time. Anyway, empath function is when one experiences energies that would come from the outside, and those energies would be emotions and or thoughts or sensations, and they experience it as if it is their own, as though it is native, as though, hey, I am angry, I am sad, I am enthusiastic, even though it's a cat's funeral. That is an outside energy that is being identified to. The frequency has become your own, as opposed to, wow, she really bummed me out. That's not exactly the empath thing. That's more like high sensitivity or even compassion, or just, kind of drawing in a mood. Empath really refers to identifying to the energy. Now, that's not how it's supposed to work. It's not supposed to overcome us so that we match a frequency that's negative, either for ourselves or for the situation, because the empath function is intended to be a well-being machine. But I digress, because I want to get to a couple of points for you. First of all, I like to think of empath as a function, rather than thinking of it as some kind of label that has a specific definition. Now, I did tease for you in the beginning that some people identify as empaths who probably it's not really their deal, and then other people don't want to identify as empaths because maybe they think it makes them weak or unpleasant. Well, let me tell you, the ones who identify as empaths who maybe are not really, doing the empath thing is because it tends to be a thing that covert narcissists think that they're an empath. Not always. And by the way, the word narcissist is it's like considered such a bad word, but it's just on the spectrum. Honestly, it's on the spectrum of narcissist empath or narcissist codependent. It's just the other side of that. There is a healthy and unhealthy way to fall on that spectrum. And the empath and codependent, by the way, is also on that spectrum, just on the opposite side. But anyway, narcissism really just means to derive gratification by outside attention. So a covert narcissist could be very highly sensitive, hypersensitive to outside criticism and to the feeling of shame. And so that high sensitivity, they mistake for being an empath. And then maybe someone else sees that and they think, ugh, I don't want to do that. Or they see an empath who is disempowered and they think, well, that's weak and I don't want that to happen. That's not a pleasant experience. So I just won't identify with that. So let's chuck all of that out the window. I think the empathic nature is something that we all have. It is basically the autoimmune system of the emotional body. So when it is working correctly, it is a well-being machine. And when it is malfunctioning, it is attacking itself. The energy, the thought and emotional energy, mostly emotional, but it turns into thoughts, it begins to attack itself. Just like how we know the immune system to work if we have an autoimmune issue or disease, that's what the disempowered empathic nature is doing. So I digress, or I progress. I'm not really sure which one it is. Let's move forward to the ultimate empathic tool, the ultimate tool for empaths. I call this release to source. Now, RTS is like the abbreviation or the initialism of it. And you might hear other teachers, other platforms, other conversations about the empath, this RTS tool. They call it return to sender. And I prefer release to source for the fact that return to sender, if we're talking about energies that we don't want in our own field, it can imply to us that we're like sending them to someone else. You know what I mean? Like I like release to source because it feels more aligned. It feels more cooperative, coalescent. So let's talk about what it is. This is a micro meditation, a regular practice, especially when you are in some cycle of shifting your empathic function from malfunction or that autoimmune toxicity to function, the well-being machine. Anytime you are experiencing a feeling, an emotion, a thought that is somehow discordant with your energy or with the outside world. Now, the reason I say it that way is because, yeah, sure, it could be a negative feeling. I'd be sad, mad, whatever. And that feels discordant in our energy. But also we could feel too much enthusiasm in the wrong situation, and that wouldn't match the outside scenario. So that would be inappropriate. Like you shouldn't be super jazzed at a cat's funeral. Like that would be rude, right? So you could be an empath can pick up enthusiasm at a time that it's inappropriate and map that to themselves. So now let's go to RTS, release to source. Anytime you are feeling a discordant energy, discordant with yourself or discordant with the outside world, it is disconnecting you, creating separation for you, stop, clear the mind. We're not working from this analytical mind. We are working from the energy. We are working from the heart. Feel into your pure essence, even for a moment, for a half a second, and ask, is it mine? Ask your heart, ask your body, ask your energy, is it mine? If you get a no, don't ask why, don't ask who, don't care where it come from, because that's not the point. It isn't yours, and the truth of who you are is informing you of that, and it is not creating well-being if you have identified to it so that you are unconscious about it not being yours. So you get a no, and then calmly, with objectivity, release to source. Release to source. Now source energy, if you want to imagine it, release to the light, release to Gaia so she can compost and transmute, turn it to you as fresh, pure energy. Maybe it goes back to the person who dispatched it in the first place. You know what? They need it because they created it for whatever their pattern is that they're learning about their life and their karma. That's cool. That's not your issue. The problem of the empath is chasing energies and thinking that if they identify to it, then it shan't be. But in fact, you actually amplify it. You make it greater than when you do that with the unconsciousness, the unconscious use of that emotional autoimmune system, the dysfunction of the empath. All right, all throughout the day, micro meditation, mindfulness practice, all day long. When you are retraining your empathic nature, this may be because you've just awakened to the concept of empath, or it could be that you've been doing it for a long time and you teach it on YouTube and you teach it to your clients and you teach courses on it and you have a 12-step program. These are all descriptions of me, and yet you still need to do it. And sometimes your husband needs to say, are you sure that that's yours? Because you're just hanging out with this lot of things and it sounds like them and it doesn't sound like you. Oh yeah, release to source. So there you go. Recap. We have a, is it mine? Get a no. Release to source. Now, some of y'all are saying, what if I get a yes? Then you say, great, thank you. I felt that it was discordant right now. Then I say thank you to it and I will attend to you later because I love you. And if you're here for me, then that means, and it's not just for me to release, that means it's time for me to deal with it in my meditation time, in my prayer time, in my time with my therapist or my hypnotherapist or my healer or my teacher. But it's time for me to deal with my own pure essence at another time. But I tell you what, you're probably going to be getting no's because you're going to be guided to use this tool at the right times. Okay, so that's what I have for you today. Simple tool, do it all the time, reprogram that energy, get that empathic nature into its forward function as a well-being machine for yourself and, you know what, even for others. And if you're interested in becoming an even more empowered empath, I encourage you to check in the description below because there is a link to submit for an empath small group coaching program that I am offering. It is brand new spiritual technology, a 12-step program for empaths. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, recovery. And it's something that we want to work our whole lives. If you are a person that is really emphasizing that empath function. So check it out. And by the way, if it says to be announced, check back right quick because it's coming up any second now. But I think it's there. So check it out. All right, guys, I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I would love for you to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Check out the podcast. There is a link below because I have long, full-length episodes deep into topics like this. And with that, thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.